Hello all my JavaScript friends, this is the Virtual Wide, aka Mike Smith, and this is Fun with JavaScript, our racing game. So we finished up the POC. What's next? Well, let me take you through the steps that I'm going to be going through over the next literally year, toward the end of the year, to get this racing game to where I want it to be. First of all, we're going to have to make a lot of revisions on how the physics work in the game. Now, we've proven that we can have a car with a model roll down a track and get to a finish line. Doesn't do it very well, but it does it. So a lot of attention is going to have to be spent on the physics engine to learn exactly how those hinge joints works with the wheels. Basically, again, the hinge joint is what I call the transmission that will tie the wheels together so that the wheels will spin independently, but they're held together in a certain square or a certain rectangular shape. So they just don't go flying all over the place. So a lot of work is going to be done on that. Better collision mesh detection. And now that collision mesh was that piece on the models that basically it says, okay, when another object collides with our object, this is the parameters in which it's going to collide in. Because the meshes, as we bring in all those models, the Ferrari, the low poly car, they don't have collision detection automatically put into them. So I have to add it in there. Now, within our POC, we just had just a simple square. Like, remember, the Ferrari looked kind of weird. So we just had the simple square there. And that sufficed it for our POC. But we're really going to have to refine that to make it work correctly, because as good as I got the track working with the asphalt and the walls, sometimes with the squareness of the collision mesh, if it hit the wall just a certain way, it just stopped. And I didn't really want that to happen. I wanted it to kind of just slide off of the corner like it kind of does now. And I think a lot of that problem is with the collision mesh being just a square. So a lot of work is going to have to be done with that. As I mentioned, better transmission needs to be done. I don't know why we had to use a hinge joint and not a wheel joint, but the hinge joint worked a lot better. It could be that we're using the wrong physics engine. We're using the ammo.js physics engine for Babylon. Maybe we need to be using Canon. And a lot of reasons I didn't use Canon is that ammo.js gave us more flexibility. It's also huge. Canon is not quite as large, but it doesn't have the same flexibility. But now we've gotten a lot of the problems set or eliminated with both the cars and the track. Maybe I can go back to Canon and it may work better. I don't know. That's one of the things we're going to have to check. Now, the second thing is the track itself. Now, the track has turned out really well. And again, I've got somebody who's got a master's degree in mathematics who basically wrote the track stuff for me, and it was just it worked great. There's a couple of things that I want to change. I still very happy about how the sloping was done on the curves. And again, actually let me back up here also. The reason you didn't see curves in the POC here is because I never could get the cars to work very well with the curves. And I think it was because of how I got the cars programmed. But I didn't want to spend weeks just trying to get that part figured out when I knew already that I've got it working correctly. It worked, but it worked poorly. So I want to get the banking just a little bit done a little bit better on the track, just to kind of help the cars along on that one. And better physics management with the track itself. We got the track to the point where I could set some physics on the track and set it on the walls, and that's pretty much it. I want to be able to fine-tune it just a little bit more on the track to figure out if there is some way that we can use that fine-tuning to be able to help the cars stay on the track a little bit better. If you notice, as they come down the straightaway sometimes, or down the slope, sometimes they'll start bouncing. Now, I don't know if it's an issue with how the track is constructed, or an issue of how the wheels are constructed, or an issue of how the physics are done or applied to the track. I'm not sure. That's one of the things we got to take a look at. So those are really only the two big things on the track that we need to take a look at. The big thing also is the code itself. This is a POC, so a lot of the code was hacked together. In fact, as you know, I spent the last 4 weeks having to redo the code for both the track and the cars, because once I put that much larger track in there, everything just fell apart, because a lot of the stuff was hard-coded for my original test track. And so I felt like I really couldn't do the POC without at least doing that kind of refactoring. But more refactoring needs to be done with that. Especially with the cars, I need to break up I've got the different parts of the cars. I need to break that up a little bit more, especially again within the transmission, within the track. If there's a way we can better utilize the different sections of the track, or different or obfuscate the different parts of the sections of the track where I say, give me a straight from this point to this point, give me a curve from this point to this point at this radius, and so on and so forth, or this slope or something like that. That may not be necessary, that may not work the best. Using the Bezier curves, and I pronounced it right that time, using the Bezier curves, it might be the best way of going. I don't know. That's one of the things we need to investigate. So should we be able to take the track and basically, if you can imagine the Fat Track series, I've got a straight here, I've got a 45-degree curve here, and things like that. Can we do some, can we do something like that? Not sure, but a lot of the code is going to have to be fixed to where it is easier to work with than normally you would get with a proof of concept where everything's just kind of hacked together. And finally, the game itself. I had originally envisioned this game to be basically all the different scenery would be there. You'd have the trees, you'd have the hills, you have the buildings, and they'd race through the buildings, and you have the cameras in certain spaces to be able to record the race itself, and so that when everything is put together, you would have this really kick butt type a video of a real race. And I envisioned the race game to be like that, and I want to be able to program it in such a way where people will be able to design their own cars and design different features within their cars, send their cars in to me, and I'd be able to race cars, have different tournaments basically, and race the cars. Or obviously you could take the code and do the same thing too. So of course that's going to have to deal with a lot of things like, where are we going to store the information? I use AWS, for example, but if you wanted to use any of the Google Cloud stuff or the Microsoft Cloud stuff, Azure, honestly I don't know what it's called, but you can then, we can develop the game to obfuscate that out enough to where whether you're using Amazon or Google or Microsoft, you have your user authentication already there. You have your storage, simple storage already there. You have your website hosting already there, and everything is just prepackaged for you. I would love to be able to get to the point that you could do something like that. And so in the end, that's really going to be our next step for this. By the end of the year, that's my goal, is by the end of the year, maybe it's a great little Christmas present, I want to be able to have a fully functioning game with, hopefully, and that's going to be a hard part, with the video cameras and everything, where you can replay a race, take a look at the race. That's the idea. People are going to be able to submit cars. We can run tournaments. My guess is hopefully the end of the year I might have something where we can we can start hashing out the final details of it, and maybe by the middle of next year actually start running races. That's the idea. And again, all my code is free, except for obviously the code I'm going to have for specifically for my website, but all the code is free. You can download it now, obviously, with the FWJS-race/release.0.0.3. I will be moving this to the main here shortly, so you can also get it with the main itself. And then we'll be starting with release 1.0.0 to do the actual race itself. So that's where we're going to that's where we stand with the race game. This has been a great fun 6 months. It's been frustrating at times, I have to admit, because I found out there was a ton of stuff I didn't know about graphics or physics or anything like that. I did learn a lot, but there is 10 times as much to still learn about all this. So this was a great exercise. So there we are. That's where we're going to be. Check back in periodically over the next 10 months or so. This is, by the way, this is February of 2023 if you're watching sometime in the future, and we want to have it done by December of 2023. But check in every couple weeks or so. I'm going to be having a new video as I start diving down into the different parts of the game to get it working correctly. And again, thank you so very much for watching. If you like this video, please click on the like button below and subscribe to this channel, and definitely leave a comment. When I say I'd love to hear from you, I always will love to hear from you. And we're also trying to hit 1 million subscribers by February of 2042. Yes, that is the year 2042. That is 19 years away. So please click on the subscribe button and help me get those numbers. Again, thank you very, very much for watching. This is the Virtuoid, aka Mike Smith. We'll see you later.